Welcome back to another episode of Dungeon Hammer, brought to you by One Mind Syndicate. Today we're talking, or no, today I am here with my two co-hosts.
Docile Creature.
And the Sound Alchemist.
Sorry, I'm all over the place. Today we're talking about the best spell in D&D. We're going to give you guys what we consider to be the best spell in Dungeons & Dragons, and then we're just going to talk about spells for a little bit because it's a very interesting topic. So who wants to start it off? Who wants to be the risk taker and say that this is the number one spell in all of Dungeons & Dragons?
I'm going to go ahead and take one for the team and say that Docile Creature should go first.
All right, I can go first. So, after I talk about my spell, there's really no point in any of you talking about your spells because mine's obviously the best.
Bet.
It's called Counterspell.
Already lost.
You already countered mine. Fuck.
Exactly. It's a blue instant for 2 blue, and it says counter target spell. Sorry, wrong game. That's Magic. Little Magic the Gathering joke. What it really is, it is a third level. What is it? Third level abjuration spell, which that kind of surprised me, but it makes sense. It's a reaction which you take when you see a creature within 60 feet of you casting a spell. Components are somatic, duration instantaneous. You attempt to interrupt a creature in the process of casting a spell. If the creature is casting a spell of 3rd level or lower, the spell fails and has no effect. If it is a casting spell of 4th level or higher, make an ability check using the spell casting ability. The DC equals 10 plus to the spell's level. On a success, this creature's spell fails and has no effect.
Okay.
So
that's pretty good.
this is what it does on the tin. Stops your spell from going off.
It won't, because you're going to have to roll pretty high to stop my spell.
Oh, yeah. He's got some high-level magic. So, yeah, I wanted to pick kind of a, not super early, but an earlier level spell because a lot of people might not have experience with some of the fifth level plus spells.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
What's the classes that can use it?
The ones that get it naturally is Warlock, Sorcerer, and Wizard. But there are other ways to get, I believe, the Arcane Cleric might have access to it at some point, and then the Bard has the Magical Secrets ability where he can get a spell from any spell list, so he can get it. But the only natural ones are the kind of more classic Arcane spellcasters, yeah.
How often do you actually have you been able to use it? It seems like it's how many times can you use it? I should ask first.
Well, it's a 3rd level spell, so it just depends on how many 3rd level spell slots you get, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So at higher levels, you can rattle these off quite often.
Mm-hmm.
What I've noticed is, at least in the games that I've played, Counterspell changes the dynamic. Once you introduce Counterspell into your game, it changes the dynamic of how your DM and your players cast spells. Because it's kind of like a standoff where once that first time somebody casts Counterspell,
they know what's coming.
Well, everybody knows that it's a possibility now. So they'll be like, instead of saying, all right, I'm going to cast Misty Step, they're going to say, I cast a spell, DM. Or the DM will say, the opponent is casting a spell. And then that way you're not telegraphing what you're going to do so that either the player or the DM could be like, Counterspell, you're a really awesome spell. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of it changes the whole dynamic of the game.
That's true, because instead of just announcing it, now you got to be more secretive.
Yeah, even to the DM.
Right.
And
which kind of adds a level of almost like a poker face.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to use this spell, but it could be a cantrip, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all you say is, I'm casting a spell. Mm-hmm. And if I was the DM, I'd probably allow some sort of, maybe an Arcana check to, in a split second, trying to figure out if you can even find out what kind of spell they're casting, to see if you want to kind of glean a little information before using your spell, because it is a 3rd level spell slot, and if you're a lower level caster, that you might only be able to get like 1 or 2 a day, so you kind of got to hold on to it for that big spell,
right?
Mm-hmm. But Counterspell can completely ruin your DM's plan.
Oh yeah, easily. It's like, especially if you're a warlock and you know they have like 2 spells they can cast. If they see him casting any spell, that's already gonna be a huge detriment to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do see. As far as like the player who has that spell, I do see a big challenge being like, okay, so when do I use it? Like you were saying, like
Yeah.
it's one of those things you kind of keep in your back pocket, but do you want to use it right away when you don't really know what the DM is going to bring next time or the player or whatever. So I see that conundrum.
Yeah, and then like let's say you're down to like 1 hit point, and then you got the villain gonna cast magic missile. You know that's not gonna miss, and there's no way they can score. Like that's gonna be an instant kill right there.
Yeah.
So that might be the chance to say, hey, counterspell, I need it.
As a DM, how much time do you give the player to announce that he's doing the dispel? Like when would you say, okay, no, it's too late. You can't say dispel now.
I would just honestly say, if I was the DM, I'd say I'm casting a spell. Look around the table. Nobody says anything.
Boom.
Then I cast a spell.
Fireball. Oh no! And then I meant to do.
I would make it
counterspell.
obvious. Like I would look at the person that can cast counterspell, kind of like in Magic. I don't know how much you have, how much experience you have playing against
We
counterspells.
played- yeah.
You say I cast a spell. Does it resolve? Kind of thing. Like
Oh, okay.
so, it's that kind of.
But you would still
interaction.
let the player know, like, oh, this is the effect that the spell's gonna do. Do
No.
you want to counter? it?
No. Just
No,
say-
I would just say I am casting a spell. I'm not gonna say I'm casting Fireball. I'm casting Eldritch Blast. I'm just gonna say I'm casting. It looks like your opponent is casting a spell. What do you want to do? And if they say it's fine, then boom, he does whatever he wants to do. Depending on what kind of DM you are,
Yeah.
you can either be the more honorable route and say, I'm casting a spell, and it's his super awesome counter spell. Oh, he was just casting a cantrip. You countered a cantrip. It's kind of a scummy thing to do, but you could. It's the DM's prerogative.
Right. You see the world shakes as he's getting ready to cast a spell, and you're like, oh, the world's shaking. It must be something good.
Yeah.
Counterspell. Oh no, it was just like you said, like just some cantrip.
That does give the DM then like the role playing ability to say or to build up a spell, like really describe a certain type of spell,
Really
maybe
get
on
into
an
the-
enemy.
yeah.
Yeah, and then later on, if the party encounters him again, you could just go through the same
Yeah.
story. Oh, the ground is shaking. The
Hands are quaking.
yeah,
Knees weak, arms heavy.
that's cool.
Mom spaghetti.
Yeah. Which I think that's something that I think us as a group don't really get into, the whole like somatic aspect, or
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
because it's like, oh, I got to do some like hand signs and I got to say something. Usually that doesn't happen. We just say fireball and it happens instead of like waving your arms around and saying oogity boogity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing about counterspells, how to get around it, is one, they have to be able to see you casting the spell in order to do it. So
Oh,
if
okay.
they can't see you, they can't stop you.
Cast invisibility.
And another cool interaction is with sorcerers. They have access to this meta magic called Subtle Spell, which basically there's no somatic, verbal, or material components for that spell when you cast it. So if they don't see you casting a spell, which would happen with Subtle Spell, they can't counter it. So
Interesting.
but also the same thing works if the sorcerer casts counterspell. They can just be standing there while you cast your spell, and your spell doesn't work, and you have no idea why it happens. It's a
Interesting.
cool way to kind of flavor or hide your spell casting from counterspell or for counterspell, which I really like.
That's really cool. Wow.
Can you counter a counter spell?
Yay! I think so. If it's your turn and you're casting a spell, and then somebody tries to counter it,
That's their reaction, right?
I don't think you can, because you can't unless your first spell is a cantrip, then you can. But there's that rule in 5th edition that you can't cast 2 spells in one turn
What if it's another
unless
player?
one of them's a cantrip. Another if player A casts a spell, the DM counters it, and player
Player
B
B.
can counter that counter, definitely. Man, that sounds awesome.
Well, if you have
to me.
if you have a party of wizards, like that would be
Yeah.
a big challenge for a DM.
And it's like everybody used up their counter spell just to have like a cantrip go off.
Yeah.
I see if I was a player and I had counterspell and that's how the DM would run it, where like he's not gonna tell me what the effects are, I'd get pissed.
Really?
Yeah, because it's like, oh come on, man! Like you have all the power and you're still gonna hide that from me. I think like
Well-
there's an element of like badassery from knowing what it is and being like, don't worry guys, like to your party, I got this.
That's on some level. That is why I would kind of ask for an Arcana check if they wanted to try to discern what the magic is. But at the same time, I was thinking the player can kind of do the same thing. If you think about it, if the player says I'm casting a spell, I would kind of, if I was a DM, I'd kind of want to, and maybe this is a fix for both sides. Kind of like either write down the spell, or if you have the spell cards, kind of like flip it upside down and say, "This is the spell I'm casting," so there's no fuckery going on. Like
Gotcha,
you
yeah.
flip it over and you know that's the spell that they're casting.
Now, I like in terms of mechanics, can you just cast any spell? Like, let's say you are a character that does have counter spell, but you also have another spell, or you obviously you're gonna have other spells. Can your DM cast something and say, "I'm gonna cast a magic spell," and then in your scenario, the player says, "I'm gonna cast a spell myself"? Could it just be like a bullshit spell of like fireball or something ridiculous as a
Reaction.
reaction?
Oh no,
No.
because the spells usually have a specific time when you can cast them. They're usually actions. Some of them are bonus actions, and then there are the rare reaction ones such as counterspell and shield and stuff like that.
Hellish Rebuke.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. So you have to have those in order to say that.
Yeah.
yeah. They go off at a certain time,
Right.
and a counterspell is a reaction, which is whenever their trigger is met, which is in this case is whenever somebody's casting a spell within 60 feet that you can see.
Yeah.
What triggers you guys?
Feet.
Hands.
I'm grossed out by feet, so it triggers me. You know, feet are gross if you think about it.
They're on the floor or in sweaty socks.
Yeah, it's what he's like shoes and
You
stuff.
get bunions.
Nasty.
I would lick them.
Counterspell on
Disgusting.
feet.
Yeah, please. Just cut off my feet and put like metal
They
nubs
just
on the
have
bottom.
nubs. How can you walk on nubs?
Ballerinas do it.
No, they don't.
Like when they do
Not,
their...
not like
On
forever.
their little
though.
toes.
Yeah.
That's a good spell, though. I liked it.
But
It's-
is
yeah.
it the best, though?
You know what? It's
can
going to be
counter-
hard to beat.
Every spell.
Almost.
Every spell.
Yeah, now I don't even want to say what my spell is since he busted
Counterspell.
out the... Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Sorry. Your
All right,
spell
then I
sucks.
guess I'll be going next because my spell is better than Counterspell. Because my spell is a level 9 spell, meaning you'd have to roll at least a 9 on your d20 to attempt to counter it.
Yeah.
And
something
this
like that.
spell is one that is like everybody would want to have this ability, and that is Time Stop.
Mm.
I dig it.
You should.
Time manipulation is one of my favorite things. So
In
I'm all about
life?
this.
Mm-hmm.
Just like if I was a superhero,
Uh-huh.
time, boom, I'd want to control time. It's super overpowered.
Yeah.
This is which is why it's a 9th level spell.
It is. It's really good. It's like if you're watching Click, you're Adam Sandler.
Yep.
Play Adam Sandler and give him this spell. in
Hell
D&D.
yeah.
But yeah, Time Stop. It's level 9. It's a transmutation. It does take an action to do, but it is instantaneous. So you don't have to like cast a ritual or anything. It's gonna.
Can
pop
you
out.
cast it as a ritual?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
But, I mean,
All right.
depends on what the DM allows.
That's fair.
Would you allow it?
It depends on what it does. I have no idea what it does.
Oh, you don't know what it does?
I'm guessing it stops time.
Oh,
Ooh.
close. So basically, what you do is you briefly stop the flow of time for everyone except yourself. No time passes for other creatures. And this is when you take 1d4 plus 1 additional turns in a row. So you can move as normal, take actions as normal. It is severely overpowered.
It's funny because I was thinking of my spell in terms of Magic the Gathering, and that spell is very much a blue spell as well, where you
Oh,
take
yeah.
extra turns and stuff.
There actually is a spell.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of them.
However, the one downside to this is that the spell ends if one of your actions or any effect that you do during this period affects a creature other than yourself.
Boo! So you can't just get a bunch of attacks off.
Nope.
That doesn't sound like the best spell to me. Am I right, Gershwin?
But that's when you got to think outside the box. Say you're on top of a cliff. You cast Time Stop. Then you could potentially be able to move a character off of the cliff and then restart time and they fall off.
Oh, yes. That's pretty badass.
So, what is the stipulation for it to stop if you mess with somebody else, right?
Yeah,
so,
the spell ends if one of the actions you use during this period or any effects that you create during this period affects a creature other than you or an object being worn or carried by someone other than you.
So you'd have to, like, push them.
Yeah, you have
Yeah.
to do a quick, like, yeah.
And they have to be on the edge. You can't drag them.
All right.
So it would have to be a very specific set of circumstances. But, I mean, a Thunderwave can do the same thing.
Yeah.
So why isn't Thunderwave the best spell?
In that
Because
scenario, I guess. Right?
it's not stopping people from taking reactions.
That's
This
fair.
one is.
Wait, so can you dispel his spell?
Yes.
Oh,
But he'd have to roll.
I'd have to roll pretty high
Yeah.
yeah.
because it's 10. I'd have to roll a 19. I think it's 10 plus the spell level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
So
I'd have
what-
to roll pretty high.
In what scenario would you want to use your?
Since this is a 9th level spell,
Mhm.
like this is gonna be like end game level stuff. So obviously you'd want to use this as to where you have something prepared to take down the enemy, or at least if you know you're in a position where you can't win, stop time, and you can move up to 1,000 feet away before the spell ends.
That's sweet.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
It
so
has
you
like
use
a set
Yeah.
distance. That's interesting.
So you can use this as like a form to step away from the fight, or say, I don't know, you're in an explosion, you stop time and you run far enough as to where the explosion won't hurt you anymore.
It is very individualistic, though.
It is,
It's like,
because-
screw the party, I'm running away.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, at the level you're getting 9th level spells, I think you get them at level 17 or 18
Right.
in that range. I mean, your allies are probably gonna have some pretty potent stuff as
Mhm.
well.
Or if you're, because this is available for sorcerers or wizards.
Yeah.
I think sorcerers have that one meta magic where you can cast a spell twice.
Yep, twin
Mhm.
spell.
So maybe stopping time for up to 8 turns would really benefit you guys.
You could really run away, like just completely disappear.
Yeah.
Who
So-
cares about invisibility?
Right.
You can stop time.
Yeah.
Once you reach level 17.
Yeah, something like that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or you can, like, say you do want to do a lot of damage to the enemy. I mean, I guess you could position like a whole bunch of boulders above them, start
Oh
time, and have
yeah,
them fall.
build a trap. Yeah.
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 That's
You
pretty
get
cool.
how many rounds? 1d4 plus
A D4 plus 1. So
Okay.
you're at least getting 1 round for free.
Yeah, well at least 2 rounds.
2 rounds, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, 12 seconds to
Mess around with
whatever the
stuff.
max is.
Yeah. If
Yeah.
you got a whole boatload of dynamite, light it up.
hmm
Yeah, gives you time to prepare in the middle of a fight.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty nice because you kind of you are playing against the DM and hoping that the DM isn't clever enough to like outdo what you are planning during that time. But
And
it's cool.
even if they can, I mean, time is stopped.
Well, yeah, but like, because I feel like it's kind of like the monkey's paw, or like the DM's like, all right, what do you want to do? And it's like, all right, I'm gonna give you like,
Yeah.
just like you have time to think of something. I have some. I
Yeah.
have some time to.
I guess you are
Counter.
hindered by the amount of time that you're actually freezing. Because, like,
Yeah.
a turn is only 6 seconds.
Yeah.
Like, what literally can you really do in 6 seconds?
And the maximum is 5 turns.
Yeah.
So
I can see
30
a DM
30
saying,
seconds.
"Oh, you trip."
that would suck. You fall on turn 1 and you just gotta use the rest of the turns to kind of get back to
Get
where you
back
were to
up.
begin with.
Yeah.
That's good though.
I guess so, yeah.
But I guess we're talking about it in terms of in combat. I think where that spell shines is out of combat.
Right.
Where you're in a political situation or maybe you're an assassination mission and the guards are there, you can't find a way past them. Stop time, walk through the door, close the door behind you,
Mm-hmm.
and then you just get to mess up whoever you're trying to kill.
Yeah. Or say somebody's about to fire an arrow at you, stop time, and then maybe position the arrow already in motion, pointing back at the assassin.
Oh yeah, that'd be badass. That's like a power move right there.
Yeah. It really involves thinking outside the box. For
Yeah.
this,
So what would you guys do if you could stop time?
Oh.
Let's say you get max.
For 6 seconds, though?
Yeah,
So
6
30 seconds
30
of time
seconds.
stop.
Yeah, like right now, just for everybody who's listening.
Well, I don't think it would work the way I wanted to. Like, let's
We're
say
all
if
just
I,
sitting in a circle.
yeah, if I stop time and I like jerk you guys off.
For 30 seconds, you could finish us off in 30 seconds.
Easy. I mean, what?
Well, I guess
That's 25 more seconds than you need, my man.
It's interesting because, like, would that count as having time restart since I'm touching you guys?
Probably.
And we're saying this is magical, right? So it's not like
Mhm.
connected to actual like science fantasy, where it's like, no, you're actually just moving really, really fast. So
Yeah.
you're gonna get that rug burn on your.
Oh,
Your
man.
shaft.
Well, like when time restarts, it's like
Yeah.
30 seconds of just constant friction.
You,
That would hurt.
you have a thinner member now.
Is that how that works?
I'm pretty sure friction, right? Burning, like it burns it off a little bit.
Like-
That's why
wood.
mine's so thin.
Yeah,
I
you-
keep rubbing it away.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dang it.
That's a good spell though.
Yeah.
It does kind of suck that it is 30 seconds though.
I mean, I guess you could flavor it that way. Like, say you're playing like a Flash-like character.
Yeah.
Instead of stopping time, you're just moving faster than everybody.
The thing about that is like there's so many like problems with doing that I think a DM would kind of have to think of like, okay, so if the person's moving really fast, how does that affect this, and that? I think just saying like, no, it stops time fantastically.
That's magic. I mean,
Yeah.
That's cool though.
it's a really powerful ability.
Yeah.
So jerk us off. What would you do? That's how creature.
Well, I was gonna say the same thing. So, well, maybe I'd like let's just say one of your butts would hurt. Just a little bit though.
Just one of
Just a
us?
little bit, yeah.
30 seconds.
I only got 30 seconds, all right?
Okay.
I don't think that would work though, right? As soon as you touch one of us to stand up.
Oh, but he can jerk us off. Wow. Wow. All right, I see how it is, DM.
Yeah. No butt stuff. I
Yeah.
guess.
I know who's getting their butt hurt.
Well, one's pleasurable for all three of us. One of them is only pleasurable for one of us.
I can get to you both, all right? 30 seconds.
Yeah, but that's not pleasurable for us. That's good though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you?
If I had 30 seconds, I'd just take your clothes off. I don't know. I really don't. I mean, you guys already covered the holes.
That's true.
I guess, yeah.
So, yeah. Maybe stick it in your ear. I don't know.
Ow.
I can hear
It's
you
not that
coming.
Oh, that's fair. Okay.
Friction, right?
Yeah. That's a good spell, though. I like it.
Counterspell.
All right, so we have something that stops you from doing things. We have something that stops time. What are you doing?
So when I was thinking of like what badass spells have I used in the past, I realized like no, like I don't think I've ever had a good spell, and I think the reason for that is because whenever I think, because it's always been countered by the DM's shenanigans, and I think the reason for that is because I have that mentality that like I'm gonna use a spell as a gun, I'm gonna use this spell as like a weapon. But I don't think I think like a good spell should be a control spell, kind of like what you guys have. Yeah.
Which is kind of what we've both picked.
They're at least they're more. Well, this is subjective, of course, but they're more exciting to me, at least. The time stops versus the fireballs, or like
right, yeah,
magic missiles.
And like that stuff is very like one sided. So I actually chose banishment. Because banishment is a really good control spell in terms of like you get to disappear a person for an entire minute. They have to do a charisma saving throw, which the good thing about most monsters is that they're socially awkward.
Yeah.
They usually don't like to talk to you. They get really red.
Yeah.
They go, huh, a lot. So that's really good. And then once they're banished, you have to hold concentration, but that's when the party should be out there doing their thing. And there's been a lot of scenarios where a DM decides to throw like, kind of like, there's the main villain, but then he throws like an extra person that is just going to absorb some hits. If you banish that person, then the party can target the main person that we're trying to kill. So
where do they get banished to?
So they get banished to a non-lethal realm, I think the book said. A plane of existence that is not harmful.
So like
A
Chuck E.
demiplane.
Cheese?
A harmless demiplane. Which is pretty cool. Unless you're a fiend or a celestial, I think.
If you're anything from another plane, then you go to that plane.
Yeah, and you stay there forever.
So you're saying if you guys cast banishment on Gershwin, he'll go to the soul plane.
So, whoop, yeah.
Exactly.
And then I'll just stay there. And that's the thing of the spell. So, like, if you are in a specific campaign fighting demons, fighting angels, and you're not in that plane, then it's perfect for you. Because you're just banishing people, like, left and right. And it's only a 4th level abjuration spell.
And it's an action to cast, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really cool spell.
Can the people that have been banished, do they still take their turns on that plane?
That I'm not too sure.
I would say yeah.
Because like if you banish like the villain into this plane, can't you just use that whole minute to like
prep for when he comes back?
Yeah,
I would say so. But like you said, if you hold that concentration for the whole time, which is a minute, and they're from the other plane, they just stay there, so they don't ever come back.
Oh wow!
But if they are going to come back, your whole party also has a minute to kind of prepare for that.
I just thought that was really cool because it is a way. It's a way to damage a villain, but at the same time, it's not just hit points. It's actual effects. And usually, when you make the DM think, that's when you can get like a good advantage. It's not just like I'm gonna hit you for this much, and yeah.
That's interesting.
Another cool thing to think about as a DM for that spell is if you're doing like a plane hopping campaign, have your enemies use banishment on your players, and if you're in another plane, they go back to the material plane forever. It'd be a really mean thing to do.
It's cool because then you throw in a whole nother goal for the party too. You let the party know, and then you're like, "Hey, you guys have a minute to stop this guy."
Yeah, if he survives for a minute with this concentration, your rogue is gone forever. You have to go back to the material plane to get him.
Damn, that's almost worse than dying.
Depending on the campaign, yeah.
And
the ease of access that you have to move between planes.
And then just thinking back to the previous campaigns that we've played where there's multiple dimensions, it would be really badass for the DM who already created the original plane of existence to be like, oh, yeah, you guys actually, according to where you guys are in this dimension, in the other dimension, you guys are here. So you could potentially be in like a completely, or a place that you've been there before type of scenario.
Yeah.
Be cool to like you don't end up beating the bad guy within a minute, and like later on in the campaign you go into the material plane to find him, and it's like the rogue is now all like grizzled and like
especially
apocalypse
play around
ready.
with time in the planes and stuff.
That'd be but yeah, that's my number one spell. Now when it comes to spells, what do you guys think makes a really usable spell, like a good spell that's that you use a lot?
I think it's utility. Like the more ways you have to use the spell, the better. Because a lot of times it's just like, oh, I cast Fireball. That's just damage in a huge range. Which you can use that in a bunch of different ways, especially if you need to like light things on fire. That'll work. But if it's just a spell that just does damage, then it's like, oh, well, I can't really do this for anything else except to deal damage.
It's less exciting.
Yeah.
Especially if the DM kind of is more strict about the spell's limits. Like, for example, Firebolt and Eldritch Blast and all that stuff, they require a creature that you can see to be able to cast a spell.
Right.
So, like, I've seen a lot of people be like, oh, I want to light this fire. I'm going to cast Fireball on some wood to light the fire.
Need a creature.
If your DM is that strict about it, he might say, no, there's no creature that you can see in the wood, so you can't.
I see that microorganism, the amoeba.
There's plenty of other spells that can do that without a problem, but that's just an example. Or like Frost, Ray of Frost, that kind of thing, if you want to put out a fire or something like that. And I think that kind of hinders the creativity of those kind of spells. But it's definitely there. Like if your player plays rules as written, then technically they shouldn't be able to do that. So it's just something that you got to look out for. And there's less wiggle room with those kind of spells. So I definitely agree, like utility. And for me, I like kind of range spell level 1 to 4 is kind of where the spells that I like, because you're most likely going to get to cast those spells, because a lot of campaigns don't go past level 10 or whatever, unless you start there. So you're going to be able to cast those spells, and you can cast them a lot. So you're going to see a lot of those effects. And some of the lower level, like third level spells, there's so many good third level spells. It was really hard for me to pick the best spell, because there's so many awesome spells that do really cool things.
If you guys were to create your own spell that a player could have between like first and fifth, what would you guys create?
I think for me, it would just be like a toned down versions of like the 9th level spells. Because like you were saying, nobody really gets to use level 9 spells, because like campaigns usually don't go up to that.
Yeah.
So like, let's say you really wanted to stop time, but you're not going to be past level 10. Maybe you have a spell that it just gives you like 2 free turns instead of the option of giving you up to like 5 or whatever.
Yeah. Or maybe even just 1. Like 6 seconds, just free. Like you basically get 1 free turn, which is still pretty good. Yeah. But then maybe take away the disadvantage of if you attack somebody or interact with somebody, it goes away. Yeah. So you get a guaranteed 2, which I guess still is pretty good, because that could be what the 9th level spell is. If you think about it.
That's true.
And just like dumb down some of the higher level
Yeah,
ones to make
because there's
them,
like one where you could summon meteors. Why not just summon one meteor?
yeah.
With the same damage output. That'd be kind of cool.
I don't know if the same damage output would be better. Because, like, let's say you're level 5. Why would you be able to do, like, 8d12 damage?
Yeah, I think you'd have to
Yeah,
nerf
scale
it a
it
bit if
down.
you're gonna take a 9th level spell and like make it a 4th or a 5th.
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise, like, what's the point of?
Yeah, it's like, oh, why should I take this spell when this one does the same thing, just with more damage?
Mm-hmm.
This is something I've thought about a lot, like, because I want to make my own spells as a character. Because you know how, like, in the player's handbook, there's the spells that have, like, a wizard's name, like Mordenkainen's blah, 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 and
Yeah.
Melf's minute meteors and stuff like that. I want to, like, create a spell with, like, my character's name and have it be something that my DM can use in the future in that world so that my character kind of leaves a mark. But I haven't really thought of any, like, super cool ideas for new spells.
Docile creatures, Viagra pill.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Leaves you hard for 8 hours.
Well, if it's 8 hours, you should go see an apothecary. Get that stuff injected, the blood injected out of you.
It's a pretty shitty spell then.
Yeah, I could just use stone skin.
Yeah.
See, it already exists.
But it has your name on it.
It's true. What about you, Gersh1?
I really like the idea of messing around with time or just invisibility. Anything that can help you evade situations, I think would be really, really beneficial because it is kind of played out to just be like, oh, I want something with strong damage output. I think teaching your party early on the ability to like just think up
instead of just
a scenario or like
fighting
a
your way
solution,
through it.
yeah, would be really beneficial to most parties. Where it's like, okay, so how are you guys going to resolve this by not being conflict oriented?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's something that like D&D struggles with. Because it's like, oh, you have 4 goblins in this camp. How do you get through them?
Yeah, I think one of my favorite scenarios that I've played was it was me and the Sound Alchemist, and we were robbing a witch's house.
Oh, yeah.
And then we got caught up, and then we were trying to run away, and we were trying to figure out how to run away. And I turned into a cat. I think that was
That's
the
smart.
most fun. It's like because you kind of have to think on the spot. Like,
Yeah.
How could I do this? So yeah, making your party think outside the box and having spells in that kind of field would be fun.
I got caught, by the way.
Yeah, I mean I actually had invisibility.
Oh.
Yeah, so I could have cast invisibility on you, and then I could have turned into a cat, and we would have been fine.
But that was like really early on in your D&D career.
Yeah, I didn't know.
It makes sense that you wouldn't automatically think, oh, I have invisibility.
It's like running away, invisibility. Nah, I'm gonna turn into a cat.
I'm a cat. Meow.
Well, I was thinking of myself. Oh, so another thing too would be nice, or another thing that would be nice for a level 1 to 5th spell would be something that affects the party,
group.
but not the villain or not any opposing force.
It's like a buff.
Yeah, because you did that. Docile Creature did that a lot with his latest guy, your musician dude, where you would kind of
Gallo?
buff us.
Oh, yeah. My Mastermind Rogue
Yeah.
used the help action as a bonus action. So basically every turn I was like, you get advantage, buddy. You
Yeah.
get advantage. You get advantage.
So things that really help out the party in that way would be nice. And then actually having them, like instead of just affecting the dice rolls, but actually affecting the character stats in a different way would be nice. Like all of a sudden you make your party taller, you make your party have wings, you make your party have, or turn them into dragons.
Like mass transmutation type stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Mass polymorph.
Which is, it's something, right? Like later on you can
Oh, yeah, yeah.
turn the entire party into flying dinosaurs.
Yeah. How strong would a spell be if you're able to turn any spell into a cantrip?
Oh, that would be nice. That would be dope.
I think
For
that
like one turn or
Yeah.
forever?
for like a D4 amount of turns. Would that
That'd
be
be
too
really
overpowered?
Well, I mean, it depends on what level of spellcaster you are, I guess, and what level spell that is.
Yeah.
Because if that's a 9th level spell, then you can make all the rest of your 9th level spells cantrips. It's really
But
good.
you could only do like a cantrip a turn, though.
True. It'd be really good for a sorcerer.
Yeah.
If you can, like I said, if you can twin it or quicken it to make it a bonus action,
Yeah.
and then do another cantrip or something like that. It could be really good in the right hands.
Hmm.
Yeah,
It all depends on your imagination.
that's true.
What have you guys thought up of in terms of spells? What's your favorite spell? Which one do you guys think is the best? Comment down in the comment section below.
Did you make any custom spells? Because I'm curious to
Oh,
hear
yeah.
about that as well.
Homebrew is always something that interests me for D&D.
Yep.
Definitely.
And then if you guys have suggestions for other topics that you guys would like us to discuss, comment down below. Thank you guys so much for listening. And yeah,
This has been the Sound Alchemist,
That's our creature.
Gershwan.
and we are out of here.
Always used to put my freedom first in any situation.